I don't know if someone wants to keep their eyes on Twitch chat. I'm not gonna spend my time following that up. To what is the last project call of 2020? We have a whole bunch of people. We have a whole bunch of agenda items. Well, yeah, welcome everyone to this, final project call of the year. I'm just going to quickly read out the agenda. So we're going to talk about GNU Radio 3.9. We're going to talk about Windows. We're going to talk about Volk, about GNU Radio 2020, so not 2021. This is a review. And then we're going to plug some events, FOSDEM, the EU GNU Radio Days, and then Clayton will show us some GQRX stuff. All right. GNU Radio 3.9 is the work of one man in particular, Marcus. Well, that's not true. Not to diminish Marcus's work, but it's of course the work of many people, many contributors. But I'm going to pass the mic to Marcus to talk about GNU Radio 3.9.
Hey, thanks. So yeah, it is really the work of many people, and just today I've been trying to figure out how many these actually are. Turns out it's 81 different committers that have committed to whose commits entered the GNU Radio master branch since the 1st of January this year. So that's actually quite a lot. And as soon as my screen sharing works, which is hard because, yes. Now I have to find the right screen. I can tell you how many these actually were. So that it were 697 commits in total. I hope you can see my screen now.
We cannot.
That is too bad. Because that's what I'm currently sharing.
Now we can.
Okay. So and this I've made a small graph here, and this shows that it's really not my work, not even mainly my work. So what we see on the horizontal direction is the total number of commits, and as you can see, it's kind of dominated by Josh. So Josh has done 128 commits that made it into master this morning, and I congratulate him on engineering a number that's so round. That's excellent. Followed by Thomas Habits, who's been doing C++ rework and actually got in nearly 100 commits. And then only then I come, and I don't have any, there's no gap there. There's directly followed by Ron, who's been contributing a major feature to the audio interfacing blocks this year. Clayton, thanks. You've been fixing a lot of stuff. So has been Mike, JPM48, and so this actually goes through, and we've got a lot of contributors. And which one thing that I specifically like about this graph is this very, very last column. This turquoise and greenish 2 bars on the very right, because these are the people that only had 2 commits or 1 commit at all, and they do make up a significant amount of our overall code contribution. So now this sounds like it can be a two-sided sword, right? And on one hand, that means that people aren't afraid to contribute smaller features, to contribute a single thing that actually does something that is good for them and for the ecosystem, and that's something good. Then it also means, on the other hand, that there is some overhead in getting single commit people in. So if you only got a single commit, then for any commit that was larger than 10 lines, we used to have something in place that was called the CLA. But I think this is a topic that I'll leave up to Martin to discuss, because we have some updates on that. So to me personally, like these two last columns are the hopefuls. I want to shift them to the left, obviously. I want everyone to contribute as much code as possible. But so far, this has been a pretty lively development. So after having that graph, I was wondering what else could I be showing. The classic here would be, well, when did these commits come in? Is there some correlation between events happening and the amount of code that we see in tree? Turns out, yes, there is. So what's this? This is kind of, I try to approximate the amount or the times at which commits came in by a kernel, like a density estimate based on multiple Gaussians. And this is what it looks like. And what we can see here is basically that, first of all, like the tails aren't quite true. This like representative of the code development, because this is only commits that made it into master since the 1st of January. So obviously, there's a lot of commits that happened before the 1st of January, just got merged after that point. And of course, there's nothing in the future. So the right-hand side of this graph is kind of skewed to be smaller than it should be. So this is nice because it shows a couple of things. First of all, GRCon kind of inspires people. This is actually very nice. Then, so do Hackfests and FOSDEM at the beginning of the year. So these are two very important plateaus. And this is another thing. Assuming that a lot of our contributors are on the northern hemisphere, the lack of possibility to meet with other people might have introduced the feasibility of committing code in the summer, which is really nice. So yeah, this looks this looks pretty impressive. We didn't have these much contributions during June the previous years. So yeah, that's the numbers. So in total, as said, it was 697 commits, and it's been 81 committers, and I think these numbers will increase. Martin, can I hand back to you?
You may, yes.
Then I would like to do that.
Well, thanks, Corona. Marcus, thanks for the retro. You were gonna also talk about 3.9 though, right? So can I maybe hand the mic back to you? So this is like the future rather than the past.
Yeah. Okay. True. So that was all about master here, and obviously we like development, but we also like a stable release once in a while, right? Especially distributors of software do like stable releases, and so we need to bring out Generative 3.9. So I've been promising to release 3.9 for quite a while now. I'm kind of sorry that this hasn't happened yet. We are definitely having a release this year. We're doing a release candidate next week, early next week. What will happen till then is that on Friday afternoon, so US afternoon, I will branch off the main 3.9 branch, which will then be the point where everything lands that needs to go into the 3.9 release. And if that reproducibly builds on multiple machines and doesn't introduce any new bugs, like by changing version numbers and whatnot, that will be then the release candidate, basically. What that means is that we'll have development on the release and development on master concurrently, which is at the point where we are now with multiple very active contributors. This is not a problem. This becomes a problem quickly if engagement reduces, because then you have to care about two parallel systems. In this case, it allows us to to keep working while we're still making things stable. Why do that release now? We're at a point where Linux distros are finalizing their next releases, so this is important. And also we're at a point where we want to change a couple of things that we couldn't change within 3.8. First of all, 3.9 will be C++14. Yay. I think a lot of people that were on the left side of the contributor graph, they will like that. And this also opens up things like being very aggressive on master now for even more modern standards, or for and to be to push things like making GROSMO SDR work, and yeah, so this is pretty exciting to me. Martin, rescue me, please.
Okay, no, I was waiting for your long list of announcements to conclude. Yeah, well, thanks a lot. There is one thing that we would like to talk about with respect to 3.9 that you haven't covered, which is we have a lot of outstanding pull requests, and we know we've been lagging merging those. So the list of pull requests has been growing and growing, and this is not something we're particularly happy about, but we just can't keep up with the reviews. And we would like to get in another swath of changes before we branch off, or before Marcus branches off the release candidate, so we don't have to, that also reduces our load on cherry picking and stable branch maintenance, etc. So yeah, anyone who can help review our open pull requests, please do so. It'll be very, very welcome. And it'll mean more stuff gets merged.
Yeah.
So once we release 3.9, then many things will be similar to the way they were before, including the fact that people running GNU Radio on Windows will have a much harder time than those running it on Linux. So Derek, you wanted to say a couple words on that?
Sure. So this is something which has been brought up before, lots of times, and we're very grateful that we have GNU Radio running on Windows at all, and that it's reasonably easy to install, because it is. That's thanks in large part to the work done by Jeff Niebuhr in packaging the binary installers that are available at gncdevelopments.com, I believe is the URL. And more recently by Ryan Vols, who packaged GNU Radio for the Anaconda environment, the Python-based environment. And those have both been great. And you can also install GNU Radio using Windows Subsystem for Linux. But each of these three methods, and there's a variety of others where you can become more and more adventurous with your build environments, have some downsides. And none of them are kind of the be-all, end-all great user experience that GNU Radio should have. And so thanks to good income over the last couple GRCons and being able to save up a bit of money and a grant that came in from the Amateur Radio Digital Communications Group, ARDC, we have a bit of money in the bank. It's not a lot, but it's probably enough for us to hire somebody to do some work. Because we think that the Windows build system work that's needed to bring GNU Radio to a really positive experience, something that people want to be using, enjoy using. People want to use it, but we want them to enjoy using it and develop against it, is going to take expertise and time, energy, and hair pulling that no one currently involved in the project has all of those in one. And so we're looking at doing some contract work to do this. But we want to make sure that what gets delivered is something that's really useful to people. So if you are someone who, particularly if you have Windows development experience and would be interested in using GNU Radio on Windows, it would be really helpful to us if you could go onto the GitHub project page, and you'll find an issue at the top of the issue tracker just after this call that's tracking a discussion around what should this Windows experience be like. Do you want to use Visual Studio? Do you want to be using MSVC as your compiler? Are there alternatives? We may not even know the right questions to be asking. So please come and help and be part of that discussion I'll also be sending an email out to the mailing list. And we're hoping that this will be a fairly fast turnaround. So 2021 may be the year of GNU Radio on Windows.
We were going to use the new discussion feature, right, on GitHub?
Yes, we're going to give that a shot. So this is a new feature that GitHub has introduced.
GitHub has a few new features, including the ability to put videos in your code reviews. We would politely ask you from refraining doing so for general reviews, but you can use them for like showing off GRC bugs, for example. That might be useful. But please don't yell into your camera and say, change line 17. Yeah, so obviously that's going to be very cool. The other piece of software that we want to talk about in this call is Folk, and we actually have Johannes on the call to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. My name's Johannes. I maintain Walk together with Michael Dickens. And I can announce a new Walk release. So today we have Walk 2.4.1, which is a bug fix release. And I hope this release makes it easier for all the package maintainers to actually package Walk and see it used together with GNU Radio 3.9 in the near future. So if you have any concerns, anything, please get in touch. And also, I'd like to, actually get to know who is working on packaging Walk. And if you have anything else, also, I'm happy to see contributions and questions and everything. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Johannes, for joining the call. Okay, so that's news, I don't know, like reports of what happened. We have a couple of upcoming events. So we have FOSDEM as usual. When I say as well, I say as usual. There's nothing is usual about these upcoming events because of all events moving to virtual. So GRCon was already online this year, as you know. FOSDEM will be also virtual next year. Anyone who's been to FOSDEM will know that it's impossible to social distance, like even under the best circumstances, on the campus. So FOSDEM will be online, which means that it's much easier to participate. So you don't have to travel to Brussels this year. You will have to bring your own beer, I'm afraid. That's up to everyone. But we are desperately looking for contributions to the schedule. Why am I so desperate? Why am I saying that we're desperate? Well, the whole organization of FOSDEM was a little bit compact compared to the usual years, just because of the whole craziness, like trying to get up a virtual conference running. But we are trying to finalize our speaker schedule within the next 3 weeks, and that includes the Christmas break. So anyone who wants to talk about anything open source or like free software and radio related does not have to be GNU Radio related. In fact, that's expressly not the description of the free software radio dev room, but it should be somehow radio related. They can find the CFP on our wiki. Actually, I might just pull that up and screen share for a sec. Where is it? And I'm sorry. I usually prepare my my tabs before the call, so I'm gonna screen share here. There we go. So this is our FOSDEM wiki page, and here you will find the submission link. Click that, and I don't know where this leads. You probably need to log in. Okay. There's a pentabarf link somewhere on here. Here it is. I'm sorry. Click this, log in, create an event, and then you will be able to. Then your talk and your abstract will be logged. The other thing that needs to happen before the conference, as with GRCon, is that we need your presentation as a video. So just an FYI, like I said, you don't have to travel, but we need your content somehow. Okay. While we are talking about events, there's also the European GNU Radio event. Who has some details? I don't have the CFP in front of me, but I know Derek always is excellent.
I can do that. So the European GNU Radio Days has run twice so far, I believe, at least according to their website. And so their third European GNU Radio Days, I think the first I'm thinking of is the French GNU Radio Days. Anyways, it will be running again in 2021, and they've just opened up their call for contributions. I'll present this. And they already, quite impressively, have They already have the list of tutorials up. And so I'll flip onto that in just a second, and it looks like quite a good one. They are calling, it'll be a 3-day event partnered with the Software-Defined Radio Academy, running in Friedrichshafen, Germany. And that's running in the summer, but they're planning on it being virtual because of 2020 extending into 2021. So they have all the information for their call for participation here. The deadline for that is April 15th, so plenty of time to figure out what you would want to do. The conference is free to attend, and because it's virtual, everyone will be welcome. Notably, something for people right now is that they've just uploaded all of their recordings from 2019 and 2020 onto their YouTube channel. So if you search European GNU Radio Days, you'll find that on YouTube. And we've just retweeted it out. You can check out the GNU Radio Twitter. Very broad sweep here, and you can see their nice poster here with a few of the proposed topics. Keep this in mind as things to look forward to. The list of tutorials, I'll just quickly scroll down this, but look forward to the many things that are offered here. I'm definitely looking forward to quite a few of these. And then they have an advanced track that starts digging into some of the really interesting areas of using a GNU Radio flow graph and then routing some of that data over TCP to another process, hacking IoT, running on embedded, and a whole dive into how tags work. So lots to look forward to there. Their call for participation is open. Please do consider submitting something.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. We have 2 more things. So we're going to conclude this project call. I'd really like to hear with a presentation by Clayton, but we have one more agenda item before that. And that is, what is it, administrative detail. So one thing that we recently changed is how we are able to legally accept pull requests. So I'm going to try and share again. There we go. So anyone who's been on GitHub like today might have noticed a small change. So in fact, there are 2. The first thing is this green label, and I will get into that in a second. The other thing that's been up for a few days now is once you open a pull request, among the list of automatic checks, there is one called DCO here at the bottom. You can see successful in 1 second. What does this do? We'll click here. All commits are signed off. This is a very simple check that does nothing other than make sure that the commits have a sign off byline looking like this. And this will replace our requirement to have a CLA that we've had in the past. Now, why are we doing this? So there's actually a whole bunch of reasons, but the most important one is we've been getting a lot of complaints about the whole CLA process. It's too complicated. There's a lot of paperwork involved, and it's a sort of a barrier to entry. And anything that's a barrier to entry to contributing code is something we don't want. However, like we didn't just willy-nilly have a CLA. Like this is really, really important. Like we have the code base that is GPL v3, and that's going to stay that way. And we want to be sure that everything that gets submitted is actually in the whole spirit of freedom, but it's also like truly available to everyone. And that's why people had to sign a piece of paper saying like the code that I'm contributing to GNU Radio is actually supposed to and able to go into this repository. This new process, which uses a DCO, is going to replace that. It ticks all the same boxes of what we want to achieve. We've changed the contributing guidelines here. You can see this here. It explains what you need to do. And the other thing that is new in the repository is the DCO itself. So whenever you sign a commit, like you are signing to this document, and you can take a look at it. This is the unmodified DCO from OSDL. So we just took version 1.1 from the Linux Foundation and have not changed it. So this is a very standard document that you find in many other places. Now, one of the big advantages for us as maintainers is that we are now able to see immediately if commits are signed. Josh committing code. What is this label for? This label is so that people who already submitted pull requests into our huge backlog don't get punished by the fact that we've now sort of introduced this change after they have already submitted code. So this label applies to people who have a CLA on record, but not necessarily signed their code. So if we go down, I haven't actually looked at any specific ones, but I don't know, maybe this one here. I don't know. Some of these probably don't have signed off bylines and are still okay to go in. But going forward, we would like to ask everyone to just sign off their code. It's very easy. Git commit -s. That's all you need. And that's really it. I sent out an email to the mailing list, so that's a good place to have a discussion on this topic if you want to talk about it. And that's that. So it's 7:30. Usually we finish now, but now we have a really exciting little agenda item, and I'm going to pass off the screen share and the mic to Clayton.
Just as one final note on the DCO, when we say signed off by, you are verbally and in text signing off to the DCO. This is not to be confused with signing your commit using a GPG key. We are not adding crypto signing to our process. There's lots of reasons that breaks in Git, and it is not a requirement. So don't get them confused.
Yeah, don't get them. In fact, we ask you do not sign your commits with GPG because we will usually rebase them anyway, and you cannot do that. You cannot do both those things at once. Thanks, Derek. That's a good point.
All right, I'll get started here. So, hi everybody, my name is Clayton Smith, VE3IRR, and online I use the handle Argilo, so you may have seen that on IRC or GitHub. And today I wanted to just give a brief tour of GQRX, let you know what's new in the project and some things that I have in mind for the future. So, first, let's just have a look at what GQRX is. It's an open source SDR receiver, and historically it's mainly been targeted at Linux and Mac OS. It was created by Alexandru Chete in about 2010, and over the 10 years of its existence, more than 60 people have contributed to it. So as open source projects go, I'd say it's in a pretty healthy state. It's implemented in C++, and it's based on GNU Radio for all of the DSP functionality. and Qt for the GUI elements. It can receive a bunch of different types of signals, and let me just, I can open up the drop down here and show you. It receives wideband FM, which I'm receiving right now, including RDS. And also it does narrowband FM, AM, upper and lower sideband, CW, and AM signals. And also it does some very basic receiving of digital signals. So in addition to RDS, it can also receive APRS. And so there's a built-in APRS decoder. It supports any hardware that GR Osmo SDR supports. So all the usual SDR boards, Hack RF, Blade RF, RTL SDR, FunCube dongle, etc. And as far as what's going on with the project, I mentioned Alex was the creator, and he maintained the project up until about 2018 when he stepped back to focus more on other projects. And early this year, I started contributing some fixes and improvements. And I was able to convince Alex to get some of those out into a release in time to make it into Ubuntu 2004, but not everything had a chance to get it in. And there were also a lot of other pull requests from other contributors that didn't make it in. So I got in touch with him later in the year and asked if he'd be interested in handing off the project to me. And he did. So as of October this year, I am now the maintainer of GQRX. I have commit access to the repo, and I put a lot of time into merging all of the pull requests that were waiting, going over all the issues, kind of making sure that everything was attended to. And so let me show off some of the new things that have made it in over the past year. First off, down here at the bottom, we have a band plan that shows you what part of the radio spectrum you're looking at. So you can see right now I'm looking at the broadcast radio band, which is wide FM. And then if I go a little bit higher, now I'm into the air band and so on. And this will show you amateur radio bands and a bunch of other things. And if you want more space in your FFT view, you can just uncheck the box and that goes away. Another new feature is that it now has support for a DX cluster. That'll be of interest to amateurs. And it shows you which stations are currently on the air at the time. So if I scroll down here and look at what's going on in the HF bands, and let me zoom in to the 40-meter amateur radio band, I've got this listening to reports from the reverse beacon network. I don't have an HF antenna connected, so you're not seeing any signals here. But this is showing me what frequencies various amateur radio stations have been heard on. So it's kind of a cool new feature. It also now has a synchronous AM demodulator, which is down here at the bottom. That can be useful if you're listening to weak, if you're listening to weaker AM broadcast stations on shortwave. You'll get better reception than the ordinary AM envelope detector. The waterfall now also has some fancy new color maps. In case you don't like the standard one, you can change between a bunch of different colors. The GQRX has a built-in UDP streaming option where you can send your audio off to other programs. And until recently, that was only a single channel. Now you can enable the stereo mode. So if you're listening to either a stereo FM station or in raw IQ mode, you can send out both the I and Q channels by turning that on. It now has full support for GNU Radio 3.9. The only, at least GQRX supports fully GNU Radio 3.9. The only missing part is that GR Osmo SDR does not quite fully support GNU Radio yet, but hopefully we'll have a release out soon for that. It also now has support for high DPI screens, and if you're using a Mac with a Retina display, that's a really nice feature to have. The text should all be nice and sharp and easy to read. And the last thing I've done is set up automated builds using GitHub Actions. So now every commit that goes in to GitHub automatically generates a app image for Linux and a DMG file for Mac OS. And that has made it much, much easier to do releases. And so now anytime, if you go to the GitHub page for the project, every single commit, you'll find a release, a app image and DMG, and every release, you'll find those. In terms of where I'd like to go in the future, I'd love to add in FreeDV support. GNU Radio has built-in support for receiving FreeDV signals, and so there's no reason that couldn't be added in as another receiver type. I would also love to add Windows support. As far as I know, Windows is supported in GQRX, and it should compile on Windows. And in fact, there's a build floating around from around 2016 of GQRX 2.6 that does run on Windows. And I would love to, if you know about building software on Windows and know how to get that done in GitHub Actions, I would love to hear from you, because there's no reason why GQRX couldn't also run on Windows. Another thing I'm looking at is potentially replacing the GR Osmo SDR dependency with GR SOAPy, which seems to be the way that GNU Radio is heading as well. So I think that's a better option for the future. And I'd also love to get support for Pluto and Spy Server. Both of those have been added in to forks of GR Osmo SDR, but haven't made it into the main project. And if they did make it in, then GQRX would immediately get Spy Server support. And in terms of things that I would like help on, besides Windows expertise, I'd love it if people submit feature or bug fix pull requests. There's actually been a lot of people contributing lately, and most of the new fancy features that I've shown up have been contributed by other people. I've just been cleaning them up and getting them merged in. And I'd also love bug reports and feature requests to be filed in the issue tracker. So I think that's about all I wanted to say on GQRX.
Well, thanks a lot. We're always, I mean, so there's this famous Chinese curse that goes, may you inherit a successful open source project, and like we hope you don't grow tired of this. We're very happy to, for you to take over GQRX, and this is very cool. And I'd like to encourage people to contribute to GQRX. But I also really think GQRX is a great tool when you're getting started. With I don't know, just radio in general. This is like a really nice visualization. So yeah. Well, that rounds out the call though. Unless
you've missed one order of business, which got agreed on in the channel just a second ago. So there's been a fun development that's been brewing off in the weeds of GitHub for the last, well, really, I think it's been about 2 years people have been poking at this idea. And that is of porting GRC, so our GNU Radio Companion, away from GTK and to just a pure Qt implementation. It's nice for portability. It's nice for looking better under different OSs. You can get a much more native looking application. And it drops a dependency for us because we already have Qt as a core dependency of all of our other UIs. And so there's been a bit of development work going on along the side, and that's now reached a point where the people who are heading that development, who have been doing it, are interested in getting it into the main repository as a feature branch, and in looking for other people to contribute towards that effort. So if you are one of the people who would be interested in seeing GRC ported to Qt, take a look at the main GitHub repository, and in the next week there will be a feature branch there with that as an option. And so this is still early days. There is something that you can compile and run, but don't expect to be building all of your flow graphs with it quite yet.
Cool. Yeah. Missed that. but I'm glad to write it up.
And I think that's all the business that we have. GRCon is proceeding, but look forward to the big update to come in January. For now, there's no news is good news. We're puttering away at it, and the event will be coming.
All right, I think that leaves us to say, happy holidays, happy 2021, everyone. I hope people spend some time hacking at GNU Radio over the holidays, if they can find the time. And looking forward to yet more commits and contributions and a conference and all the good things that we've always been having come out of GNU Radio in the last couple of years. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.